Hello, everybody, and welcome to Right Here, Right Now, live Buffalo football talk presented by Forefathers Organics. I'm your host, Alex Brasky, alongside my co-host, Ajay Cybulski, here for the Batavia Daily and Livingston County News. Each week, we'll discuss Buffalo's favorite football team, along with all the comings and goings from Orchard Park, thanks to our friends at Forefathers Organics in Dansville.
Unlock the power of nature with Forefathers Organics, your premium CBD store. We offer the highest quality CBD and hemp products to liberate your mind, body, and soul, helping you live happy and free. Our mission is driven by excellence and transparency, using cutting-edge scientific methods to combat stress and target issues at their source. From potent ingestible CBD to soothing topicals, all our products are USDA certified organic. Discover all natural wellness from farm to table. Visit forefathersorganics.com for more information.
All right, AJ, as the title says on X, we were all kind of waiting for this crazy Bills loss to happen, as they so often have over the past number of years. A 7-game winning streak entering this game against the Los Angeles Rams. It seemed like it was just going to be kind of a run-of-the-mill blowout loss, but Josh Allen would not be denied. It would not let the Bills go away quietly. 6 total touchdowns in this game, the first ever player to record 3 passing and 3 rushing touchdowns in a single game. But the Bills become the first team ever in NFL history to lose while scoring 6 touchdowns and not turning the ball over. I think the previous teams were 256-0 in those circumstances. So a lot of history being put up here, some on the good side on part of the Bills, some on the bad side. And we can't fail to discuss Sean McDermott's questionable timeout following the failed quarterback sneak near the goal line, which brought them down to 2 timeouts and really eliminated their chances of getting a defensive stop on the Rams' ensuing possession. And then also the blocked punt early in the game that really helped the Rams springboard their effort. What a fantastic effort from Matthew Stafford. He went tit for tat with Josh Allen throughout this game. 2 MVP-level performances as Josh Allen and the Bills fall to Stafford and the Rams. AJ, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, a lot to unpack. From an entertainment standpoint, that was one of the best games I've watched. It was a great game, high scoring, blow for blow, like you mentioned. But I mean, there's a lot of reasons that went into this loss, and especially on the defensive side of the ball and special teams there, letting that blocked punt happen early in that first half. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss, and again, just a heartbreaking loss to a team that I think they needed this win very badly to stay alive, to keep their playoff hopes alive. The Bills were obviously fighting for that 1 seed. Obviously, becomes a lot more unrealistic today. It looks like they're going to be the 2 seed. But you never know. Maybe the Chargers can pull one out here and shock the Chiefs, but the offense is struggling mightily against that Chiefs defense. So yeah, I think this Bills team, they ran into a team that was just on fire. I also want to tip my cap to the Rams. I thought they played a great game. I thought Puka Nacua was all over the place. Cooper Kupp's a great player. And like you mentioned, Matt Stafford was just, no matter what happened, right? They dial up the 0 blitz on that 3rd and 5 late in the game. Quick screen to a touchdown. It felt like no matter what, man, zone, whatever they wanted to do, this Bills defense did not have any answers.
Let's start with the decision by Sean McDermott to call the timeout. I'm sure that's the overarching discussion on social media and will be going into tomorrow morning and beyond. It seemed like Sean McDermott over the past number of weeks was starting to win over a small faction of the fan base that have wanted him fired. I'm not saying he was winning over the entire faction that has wanted him fired these past couple of years, but I think he was starting to win some people over. But boy, did that decision that he made, calling that timeout, really take a step back in that regard. Not only do you call for the quarterback sneak, which is a risky play in a situation when you're down multiple scores and in a time crunch, and obviously all 3 of your timeouts are like gold in that situation. The decision not to go for the spike and instead call the timeout and save what would have probably been 15, 20 seconds, I'm just not so sure about this, about the decision. It's just another in a long line of questionable late game management from Sean McDermott. And while he's led this team to plenty of success over the years, and he seems to be turning a corner this year in so many ways, these late game situations continue to crop up. The Texans game earlier this year, and now this one. That Texans debacle seemingly had been washed away in the minds of many leading into this game. But when you lose a game like that, and when McDermott is at the forefront of what happened at the end of the game, it's just going to bring all those thoughts, like I said, back to the forefront. And I want to give you some comments from Sean McDermott. He was asked why he called timeout. He said he had two options, basically. Neither are great, right? So when you're in that situation with holding 3 timeouts, felt like with the ball, felt like we were underneath kind of a time overall where we felt like we could get the ball back with a legit chance to win the game with no timeouts. And if you look at it, AJ, when he called that timeout, there was about 1 minute remaining. What was the exact time? Do you remember? Was it 106?
Yeah, about around a minute. I'm not sure the exact time, but it was around a minute. Yeah.
All right. I believe it was 106. So if you don't call the timeout there, you factor in the 15, 20 seconds of them picking them off the pile. And then if you do indeed get the 3 and out, that probably wastes another 8 to 10 seconds of game time. So you're sitting there with probably around 30 seconds if you put the ball in Josh Allen's hands. And I think if you asked Andy Reid with Patrick Mahomes, I think he'd say 30 seconds is plenty of time. And with the way that Josh Allen was operating in that second half, I'm not sure how you could imagine 30 seconds wouldn't be enough. Let's see the timing on the timeout. 102. So 102. So, yeah, you'd probably leave yourself with about 30 seconds there if you were to get the 3 and out. Now, one thing fans do have to take into account, this was not a sure thing. This just would have given them a chance to complete the comeback. You still have to hold a high-powered Rams offense that, albeit you did get the stop the series before, but they were clicking on all cylinders as well. So a lot to look at here, but I think undoubtedly the timeout was the wrong decision.
Yeah, I don't know how I want to unpack this, but I'm going to try my best with the whole Sean McDermott thing because I'm a pretty neutral guy when it comes to Sean McDermott, meaning I think that he is a guy that has done a lot for the organization. I think he's won them a lot of games. I think he has won big games. And I think there's a portion of the fan base that neglects the positives, right? They just use the negatives. They micromanage like games like today, right? And use that as the reasons why Sean McDermott should go and neglect the going for it on 4th and 2 against Kansas City or, being aggressive in certain situations, right? And that bodes the other people on the other side of the spectrum that are very positive with Sean McDermott and believe that he's not really the issue and there's player execution or whatever the case may be. So that's kind of the conundrum. I think I'm kind of in the middle there. I think he really has won me over this year. I was going into the season knowing it was a big year, transitional year. He wins 7 in a row for his team. They showed up last year. Even last year toward the tail end of that year, when they went 5 in a row at 6-6, I kind of, started to buy in a little bit more with Sean McDermott after the 13-second debacle. So that's how I just want to preface this. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you 100%. I still can't wrap my head around that they kept the 3 timeouts for that exact situation, right? You drive down the field. You're 98% of the way there. You have it all. You have it all planned out, all figured out. Correct. And you do a quarterback sneak, which I don't even know if I agree with that call. And people, I get it. It's a high percentage play. That
was my problem initially. And then the more I thought about it, and I give my older brother credit, Adam, that we were watching the game, me, him, and my father, he immediately pointed the timeout. The more I thought about it, it was a timeout, but I initially too had the problem with the QB sneak.
Right. So like it was a 1.5 yards out. I get it, but like why you don't have a play there that you can, throw it on the outside. You have a Khalil Shakir that can, you know what I mean? So that also was an interesting decision as well to run it there. I don't know if that was Josh or Joe Brady. But just the decision to call the timeout. Go ahead.
And with that decision, if you go quarterback sneak and fail, it's going to take you about 20 seconds to run that other play. Even if you don't call the timeout, you get up, spike it, and then you waste it down. If you run a pass, you could possibly get 3 plays off in the amount of time it took you to run one failed quarterback sneak. So I don't know. I just think just poor decision all around. I know that quarterback sneak is your most high percentage play. It's worked game in and game out, but that coupled with the timeout, it was a disastrous situation.
Yeah, and again, I'll give I'm situational based. Like, dude, Sean McDermott's done great this year. He's won them games. He's done a great job defensively. He's done it undermanned with injuries, all that stuff. Like, I'll give him his flowers. I appreciate the coach. I appreciate the person. I think he's done a lot. But when you're in a situation like that just can't happen. You have a quarterback that's playing out of his freaking mind, and your coach, calls a timeout in that situation. It's just inexcusable for that to happen, and it's happened more than once. And that's why I think I understand both sides of the story, right? You have a coach. Will you ever get better than a Sean McDermott, a head coach? The defensive consistency, the ability to bring a locker room together, the ability to be a leader, the ability to lead a group of men. I don't know. Probably not. But you also don't know that because you've never tried it. So you live in this, again, I'm in a conundrum. You don't really know. I still think Sean McDermott's one of the better coaches in the NFL, top 10, top 5, and he still does a great job. But it's just this reoccurring thing where you think through these things in your head, and it's like there's not another way they could lose, right? Like in these big moments, it was the throwing it 3 times against Houston, right? I never even thought of that in my head before that situation happened. But again, it's a lot of overanalyzing, right? Because we're micro-analyzing a coach specific. It probably happens all the time around the league. So that's the other conversation that people fail to recognize, and probably that I get caught up in too, is that a lot of coaches do lose games like this in crazy ways, right? It happens all the time in the NFL. It's a every week thing. But again, it just sucks that the Bills wasted such a great opportunity with Josh Allen and how he performed today. And it boggles my mind. Like, you set it up with 3 timeouts and you still called it. It just it's crazy to me. But again, you only can learn from it, and everything is still in front of them. And at the end of the day, it's a loss to a team that really needed it. They're in the NFC, and you still have everything in front of you. Big test against Detroit. I'm interested to see how they kind of respond there.
Bring it back to a little bit more, not that you were irrational or we've been irrational, but a little bit more rational thinking. There was a time when Andy Reid in his career was considered a poor game manager, particularly late in games and when it came to time management. Now he's obviously, after the Super Bowls and all the playoff wins with the Chiefs, he's become really the model of coaching in the NFL. And the good thing for Sean McDermott is he gets another opportunity, not only next week, perhaps in a late game situation. Perhaps he's tested again, but he's going to have other opportunities this year. The Bills are going to make the postseason. They're going to have a chance at a Super Bowl run. So the story is not completely written. The final chapter has not been penned in Sean McDermott's coaching book, but boy, there have been a lot of questionable chapters when it comes to late game management, and they are really starting to pile up and really starting to leave doubt, heavy doubt in a lot of fans' minds across the fan base. Before we move on to other things, let us quickly thank our sponsor, Forefathers Organics in Dansville. At Forefathers Organics, their mission is to liberate, educate, and innovate with the highest quality CBD and hemp-derived products for your mind, body, and soul so you can live happy and free. Visit them at 87 Franklin Street in Dansville, online at forefathersorganics.com, or call them at 585-335-2223 to learn more about the products they offer. All right, AJ, let's talk about the block punt here. It's not always or often you hear Reed Ferguson's name mentioned in a negative situation, but boy, he got completely bulldozed on that block punt from the Rams that really maybe not swung the momentum, but swung it even more heavily in their favor. And then Ty Johnson, I thought, relinquished his block in the backfield as well. I thought those two players were really at the center of the breakdown when it came to the block punt. And then Hunter Long scooping it up and returning it. That was really easy does it for him. No one in front of him. So a breakdown of epic proportion. And there's been a lot of fire on Matthew Smiley's seat over these past few years. And I tweeted today, special teams have been relatively solid this year. I know there's been a few breakdowns, but I don't think there's been as many disasters as we've seen in the past. But today brought up those concerns from these past few years and Matthew Smiley on the hot seat once again.
Yeah, it's again, is it Matthew Smiley's fault that Reed Ferguson got blown up? Probably not, right? But again, like the 9 players on the field toward the end of the game there on that final
Correct.
play, and that so they're
Correct.
the 12 men against Denver a year ago. So there's been instances where the special teams
For it to be a
failed the team.
substitution issue, I mean that's coaching.
Right. Correct. So there's been instances where Smiley has failed, and I think that they've been a bottom DVOA team in special teams for the last 2 years under Smiley. So the analytics, the advanced numbers are also showing that the Bills special teams has been very subpar and even bad, and has honestly maybe brought this team down at times. So we'll see how long of a leash Smiley has. I mean, I don't really know if I have too strong of an opinion of Smiley, but at the end of the day, the special teams has been subpar, especially the last couple seasons with this team, and it's definitely becoming an issue. It was an issue today. That punt definitely a huge momentum swing in that game. And yeah, it's another thing to talk about and discuss. But at the end of the day, they're going to be a team that sometimes that happens, I guess. And you're going to have to, I guess, figure out ways to win. I don't really know how to put it, but yeah, they're not. This continues to happen with the special teams unit, and I think maybe you do have to question Smiley and what he is going to be for this team as a coach.
It's also on Sean McDermott. He's relinquished play calling duties this season. That allows you to become more of a CEO. You need to have your fingerprints on every part of the operation. You cannot be mismatched in that situation. You can't have a substitution error on one of the most critical plays, and what turned out to be the final play of the game. You don't get a block set up. You don't get a potential return set up, just a complete breakdown, and you have to point to the head coach there. I know you.
Did I lose
with
you?
His fingerprints all over the organization. You got me now?
Yep, you're back.
Where'd you lose me at?
You were talking about I didn't miss anything. It just caught up to itself. Keep going. Hello? I think I lost you again. Alex might have lost connection here. But yeah, we were just talking about the special teams. So I appreciate all you listening. No return or block setup is disgusting here from comedian Mo Brown in the chat. I do agree. 9 players on the field to end a game is not ideal. That should never happen. So yeah, I think, like I said earlier, I think Matthew Smiley, his job being on the line is a question. But again, who knows? With Tyler Bass, I thought he kicked good today. He passed all the tests. I know it was a lot of extra points, but he still, made those, and that's another positive sign. So we'll see how the special teams unit. I think Codrington's been a plus for this team. He didn't get any opportunity today because the Bills' defense could not stop anything. But again, he's a guy that I thought, with his limited time, he's been a serviceable player, and a guy that's done really well. So I think Codrington's a plus. Obviously, Reed Ferguson today, not a plus for this special teams unit overall. But again, at the end of the day, special teams is going to, have to learn from this. I mean, that's really all you can do. You can't let that happen, especially in a game like that where you're punting the ball away. You're down 10-7 already. You're in a little bit of a funk. You start the game 3-0. The Rams go right down and score. Then you bend, don't break after responding with a touchdown and make it a 10-7 game. Then you're punting it away again. It just can't happen. It sets up the team with a short field. It turns the game on its head. And then you're playing from behind all game, which is what the Bills did. And somehow, because of Josh Allen, they were able to get back into it, down 17 twice in the second half. But yeah, that special teams play was a huge, huge factor in this game. So I hope Alex is going to be back here soon. I'm assuming here. He has not said anything, but once he gets back in here, I'm sure we'll move to the defensive side of the ball and Josh Allen's performance. I guess I'll just touch on the defensive side of the ball here before Alex gets back. I mean, what a uninspiring performance today from this Bills defense. I think it starts with the front four. Alex is back here. I was just touching on the defense and moving there. I kind of just wrapped up the special teams.
What did you start with the defense? What did you start saying?
What a
debacle.
Yeah. Just kind of everything. They couldn't stop anything today. Every third down was converted. It didn't matter if they won on first and second down. It didn't matter if it was a third and short. They could not get off the field. And there were some miraculous plays made on those third down situations. Don't get me wrong. There's some times where the Bills defense could just not do anything. They were in position. They just made the play. So I think it was a combination of that and the Bills defense just being lackadaisical. And again, it goes back to not knowing what to do because Matt Stafford was destroying them in zone. And then once they went to man, they were still winning because their receivers were just better than what the Bills had out there. And obviously the Rasul Douglas struggled and then got hurt. So you had to count on Jamarcus Ingram. So yeah, it was just not an overall good performance. And the defensive line was the story here, I think. And maybe you can touch on that.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned the phrase tip your cap. And I think that's what it comes down to, quite honestly. I think when you have a team performing that well, they come in with that quality of a game plan right from the opening drive, which is scripted. And then Matt Stafford just putting on a clinic pre-snap at the line of scrimmage, running the ball down your throat. They had everything clicking. And yes, the Bills did not put forth a good performance. Their cornerbacks, Rasul Douglas, before he went out with injury, no update on him after the game. We'll have to wait for Sean McDermott's press conference tomorrow and perhaps beyond that to find out his status. But he and Christian Benford exposed for the first time this season. And while Matt Milano had a tackle for loss, that was nice to see. There were a few plays where he was out of position. But you mentioned it, the defensive line, when you get pushed around like that, you can't manufacture any semblance of a pass rush. You can't get them out of their running game. Those two work hand in hand. If you're going to allow them to be multidimensional, set up under center, work the play action game, that's not going to allow your pass rushers to pin their ears back and get after the quarterback. So it was just an overall failure for the defense. But at the same time, when you have a team that's operating the way that the Rams were today, I think there's some level of you just have to tip your cap, and there's nothing you can do about it. It came down to a few stops at the end of the game. The Bills make one, and perhaps they would have made another, but they were never given the chance to because of Sean McDermott's timeout. So I think that other possession from the Rams late in the game, if the Bills defense gets that stop, turns it back over to Josh Allen, a lot can be said for those two stops. But another factor in this game, the Bills did not record a takeaway, and that's what's been fueling their defensive performance all season long. I think this is the first game all season they haven't recorded a takeaway. So that obviously factored in as well. But like I said, I think it comes down to tip your cap to Matt Stafford, live to fight another day. I think this is an anomaly rather than anything that you have to be extremely concerned about. Those are two extremely talented wide receivers, a future Hall of Fame quarterback, a running back that's really clicking this year, and one of the best offensive minds in perhaps NFL history. So they are due, and they have a right to an explosive performance, and sometimes you just get beat. And I think the Bills defense just got beat today. What do you think in that regard? I didn't see like a million defensive breakdowns or this, that, and the other thing. It was just great plays being made by great players on the Rams.
Yeah, I think, again, I'm going to go back to my point with the defensive line. I think it comes down to them. And again, it's another thing with like the conversation with like Dwayne Carter being activated, Jordan Phillips being inactive. Like I understand that because Dwayne Carter's earned his right? Like he's played well all this season. He's a rookie. He's coming onto the scene. He's been a leader in the locker room, even though he's a rookie, and he's a very great presence. But Jordan Phillips came in and he's been playing some of his best football here in the last couple of weeks, and getting pressures and making plays. So I'm interested about that decision, what went into that. I'd be interested to hear about that, why Jordan Phillips did not suit up. Again, I think that's just interesting. And then, again, on top of that, I just don't know. Like, Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones are not the same players this year. Ed Oliver's greatly regressed. Greg Rousseau, he is a great disruptor, but he is not the guy. He's not a pure pass rusher that
seems to disappear in a lot of big games too.
Correct. So, and then Epinesa, I just feel like, again, he's not.
He made the one big play. We have to give him credit. I think on the run to the left side, whether it was on third down or it helped contribute to the stop. But I agree, kind of is what he is at this point.
Right. So I just look at the defensive line, and that's where it starts with me. Again, I think Dorian Williams did offer some good run support. I'm not claiming for Dorian Williams to come in for Matt Milano. I would have to go back and watch Matt Milano snaps. But, I mean, with Matt Milano returning, this defense, hasn't – you think a guy of his pedigree coming back into the fold here, they would look better than what they did today. But again, they ran into a really good team. So I think it's a lot of things. The defensive line, obviously, just for me, was the biggest factor in this game. And they've been doing very well, right? Like they were winning their matchups. The Chiefs, they handled well. They were doing good against the 49ers, albeit they lost McCaffrey there early. And then today it just all unfolded, and you saw a defensive line that just did not show up in the moment. And I think that leads to all of the, now you have to send more pressure, but they couldn't even get there with pressure. So then you're leaving Jamarcus Ingram on an island with Puka Nacua, or Christian Bedford on an island out there, and you can't ask to cover those guys in an island all day. They tried to go man, it didn't work. It all comes down to the defensive line getting pressure. If the defensive line was getting their pressure with 4, they could have stayed in their zone defense and been able to generate more problems for this Rams offense, but they didn't. And that's why they dropped 44 on the Bills and did not get stopped all night.
Yeah, and the inability to get off the field on third down, it was incredible. The Rams were 9 of 10 at one point. They finished the game 11 of 15 on third down, and they just possessed the ball like crazy, 38-21 in time of possession. So the Rams offense really dominated this game until the second half once Josh Allen and company got cooking. But with that being said, the running game really never got going. Josh Allen, 10 carries for 82 yards, but James Cook, 6 carries for 20 yards. It never really seemed like the game script allowed the Bills to settle into their running game. They got behind early, and the Rams really turned it on after that blocked punt. But Allen's performance, we touched on it already, just absolutely historic and incredible. 22 of 37, 342 yards, 3 touchdowns passing, 3 touchdowns rushing. And then Khalil Shakir, 5 receptions, 106 yards, his second 100-yard performance of the season. He added that 51-yard touchdown that is just vintage Khalil Shakir, bouncing off defenders en route to the end zone. He is what I described as a yak god. He just finds a way to record those yards after catch and just has a nose for the end zone. I'm surprised he didn't get in on that other one that he caught deep down the field. But Amari Cooper, also a heavy contribution here. 6 receptions, 95 yards, really came on late in the game, made a couple of nice catches, long of 26. Ty Johnson, the 41-yard reception for a touchdown. So there was a lot to like from the Bills offense today, particularly the passing game. This is one of Josh Allen's best performances of his career. It's a shame it was wasted.
Yeah, the offense was so fun to watch. And they still had their moments. Josh missed a couple of throws. I think you tweeted it a couple of times. The Matt Collins ball was definitely underthrown. And that was kudos to him being late to the read. The read on, like, he got through his progressions a little too late, and then by the time he got there, it just kind of, got too high in the air for him and he missed the throw. But there were a couple of times where he missed, but overall, man, like his legs today, it's so funny watching him run because he knows like he can beat linebackers with speed. So like he'll purposely set them up to be met. And it's just funny to like see a quarterback of that stature just like set up defenders like that so easily and make moves. So I think his legs were a very good weapon today.
I think I'm about to go down again. I have a feeling. My other computer just crashed on Stream East.
You're still going. But yeah, I am underappreciated. Or I think I was a little underwhelmed with James Cook.
I think you are underappreciated, AJ.
Yeah. But I am a little, James Cook. I agree with you. I didn't think he showed a lot today, from the running game, and maybe like you said, game script did not tend for him because of the fact that they were down early. But again, I think this Bills offense is fun. Matt Collins, great wide receiver depth guy to have. I thought he was great. Dawson Knox didn't really do much today. He had that wide receiver or tight end screen reception. Ty Johnson, I really like him. He continues to be a very serviceable running back 2, running back 3 for this team. Offensive line protected great, right? Josh Allen didn't really have to do too much. So yeah, this Bills offense didn't miss a beat. And again, that was without Keon Coleman and Dalton Kincaid for a 3rd straight week. So that's why you still have to feel hopeful as a fan because you see what this offense can do. You know they can put up points. And I think if, as a fan, you look at it from a fan perspective, I think that's what you should look at and hope that this defense can figure it out because this is one game. They put together a lot of good games this year. Hopefully, they just ran into a really hot team that needed to win badly at home, and that's what you got to look at it as.
All right. I think that's going to do it. One more word from Forefathers.
Unlock the power of nature with Forefathers Organics, your premium CBD store. We offer the highest quality CBD and hemp products to liberate your mind, body, and soul, helping you live happy and free. Our mission is driven by excellence and transparency using cutting-edge scientific methods to combat stress and target issues at their source. From potent ingestible CBD to soothing topicals, all our products are USDA certified organic. Discover all natural wellness from farm to table. Visit forefathersorganics.com for more information.
All right, AJ, Lions, Bills coming up next week. What's your concern level with this team entering that game? A lot of people are going to say, if you can't stop the Rams, how are you going to stop one of the best offenses in the league in the Detroit Lions? And the questions will be valid.
Yeah. Week-to-week league, first off. Second off, Matt Stafford's better than Jared Goff. It's true. And again, I'm not saying that the Lions can't put up 60 points or go crazy. Like maybe that could still happen, but I will say the Lions -2.5 right now. Very interesting line for that game in Vegas. I think if you see that go up, I think you probably would lean towards the Lions. I think if that line stays the same, I'd probably lean Bills. So I'm going to keep an eye on that Vegas line. See what kind of happens there. It was +3.5 today. The Bills had that 4th and 5. If they went down and got a stop there and went down and scored, it would have been a 4-point game. So Vegas is pretty spot on in this game, at least. So I'll be interested to see how that spread pit plays out. But again, I think it's going to be a juggernaut, man. Like, it's two great teams. The Bills, if they lose this game, there might be an opportunity for them to rest their players here moving forward, depending on how other things shake out. You might have to win a couple more or win one, but there's still a potential for, if anyone's banged up at all, sit them. It's really not worth it. You could have the 2 or 3 seed really locked up here. So great game. It's going to be fun, and I'm looking forward to it.
All right. We might have left a little bit on the table here, but we'll be back a little bit in a few days here next week, and we'll discuss, I'm sure, the fallout from this game and preview the Lions game as well. But thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Peace out.